Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'll be explaining you about another important topic in bricks called testing of bricks. Okay, so brick is one of the most important and basic construction material used, and in fact no structure can be built without a brick. Therefore, it's very much important to test the brick to know its properties and also to ensure that the consequent consequences of using bricks should not be undesirable. Okay, and testing of bricks, especially for strength, durability, efflorescence, and dimensions, is very much mandatory. Okay, and generally bricks testing is done in two ways. One is field testing and laboratory testing. So field testing is generally what we do on the site, just with the help of having a physical look or a physical touch. You can decide the property of the brick, but for this you need some experience, good experience, and supervision in that. Whereas laboratory testing is done in the laboratory with the help of equipment, specific equipment, to get the technical properties of the brick. But one has to remember that field test is only temporary. It's not, it is okay to decide whether it is good or not, but exactly you can't tell this brick can be used or not. So again one has to go for laboratory testing. So generally, laboratory tests on brick are of the following types. We have crushing strength test, which is confined with IS code 3495 part 1. Next we have water absorption test, which is part 2. Next we have efflorescence test, part 3. And next we have warpage test of part 4. So let's get into detail of how to perform each of the test and what properties we should get, what should be the limits for this parameters or outputs whatever are coming from this test for a brick to be called as a good brick. First one is crushing strength test. So what do you mean by crushing strength test? I already told you this earlier in my earlier videos. Crushing strength or compressive strength is the resistance of the brick against compressive loading or crushing loading. So one has to perform this test in the laboratory with the help of a compressive testing machine. So before placing the specimen into the compressive testing machine to test its strength, one has to prepare the specimen. How? So the brick specimen, whatever you are using, it will be soaked or immersed in water for 24 hours. Okay, just try to immerse the brick for 24 hours, and after 24 hours try to remove the brick, the saturated brick, take it out, and whatever the frog portion is there on the brick. So generally we do not place the brick with the frog directly into the compressor testing machine. Why? Because the loading may not be uniform. Hence, for achieving uniform load distribution, fill up the frog of the brick with cement mortar. So what is cement mortar? It is cement paste plus sand. Means just take cement, dry cement, water and sand, and you mix it up, you get mortar. So the ratio of cement and sand will be 1:3, where one part is cement and three parts is sand. So fill the brick portion with the cement mortar such that the frog portion is completely filled up and it is to the level of the remaining portion of the brick. Means the complete brick is horizontal now. Okay, and after filling up with the mortar, wrap the brick specimens into a jute bag with the help of a jute bag, and see that this jute bag is wetted, means it is a little bit damp in nature, it is having moisture. So wrap the specimens into the jute bag for 24 hours, and then you take it out and then again immerse in clean water for 24 hours. So total you can observe around 3 days the specimen is going under different steps before coming into the testing machine. So the first 24 hours water will the brick will be submerged in water. Then next 24 hours, if after the frog portion is filled up with mortar, it will be damp, it will be wrapped inside a damp jute bag for 24 hours. After that, again it is taken out and immersed inside water again for 24 hours. So after this complete operation takes place, take out the specimen, just leave it for air for some time, or just you wipe off the water which is present on the surface of the brick, and then you place it in the compressor testing machine so as to ensure that the load uniformity is achieved. Place a plywood sheet on the top of the brick and then apply the load. So check the load at which the specimen fails. So the load by the area of the brick will give you the crushing strength. As discussed in my earlier video, which is characteristics of a good brick good brick, I already told you the crushing strength of a good brick should not be less than 10 megapascal. It should be greater than 10 megapascal. Okay. So generally for crushing strength test, we take 5 specimens and the average of 5 specimens is noted as a crushing strength. So like this you can observe. So this is a compressor testing machine where the base plate will be stationary and the upper plate will be moving. Once you apply the load, the upper plate will start moving downwards. So it will start exerting load on the brick. When the brick fails, the machine will stop automatically. And once you unload, the upper plate will move back to its original position. So you can note down the load in the point on the dial gauge with the help of a pointer in the compressor testing machine. So load by area of the brick will give you the compressive strength or crushing strength. The second laboratory test is water absorption test. So water absorption test is done on brick specimens. Around 4 to 5 specimens we take, and first what you do is take the dry weight of these 4 specimens or 5 specimens, whatever you're taking. Say you have 5 bricks with you, take the initial dry weights of them. Means for example, if you have a complete stock of bricks with you, just pick out any 5 bricks in random, take the dry weight of them. So let it be W1 of the first sample, W2 of the second W1 of the second sample, W1 of the third sample, W1 of fourth sample, and W1 of fifth sample. So all the 5 samples will be having 5 weights. Let them be initial weights, or dry weight, let them be W1. So now soak or immerse this brick inside water for 24 hours. After 24 hours, take out the brick specimens. As told, just wipe off the top surface and then take the weight of specimen. See now, whatever specimen you have took out from the water after 24 hours of immersion is now in a wet position. So try to take the weight. So note this weight as W2. What was W1? It was the initial weight of the brick under dry condition. W2 is weight of the brick under wet condition, after saturated condition. Then you determine water absorption as W2 minus W1 by W1 into 100. So how do you get the difference in weight? W2 minus W1 by W1, and just multiply into 100, we'll get the percentage. So as told, generally we take on an average 5 specimens to determine the water absorption. Okay, and remember one thing, for a good brick, as told earlier, the water absorption should not exceed 20%. If it is exceeding 20% means, it means that it is having more amount of pores inside, and it will absorb the water content much more when it is placed in construction. Okay, you can observe how the specimens are soaked inside the water. Next comes efflorescence test. So what is this efflorescence? So when we discussed harmful ingredients in good brick earth, alkalis are harmful ingredients. Then when we talked about characteristics of good brick, we already talked about efflorescence. And also now we are talking about efflorescence test. So efflorescence test is performed according to IS code 3495 part 3. Efflorescence is generally categorized by white powder patches on the surface of the brickwork, which is brought to the surface by water and which is deposited by evaporation. So, the salts may be from salt water, which is in contact with the brickwork, or from the mortar in the masonry joints, or from the salts within the brick earth. So, one has to be careful with this efflorescence property. Okay, and the presence of alkalis is absolutely not desirable. Also, besides the efflorescence caused by the migration of sulfates to the surface of the brick, whatever we are using, they do not stay quiet. Even they start reacting with the mortar, and they form different components, complex compounds, like uh, whatever mortar, in the sense it is cement paste. So cement is having good amount of calcium. So calcium and this calcium and aluminates, and now they start reacting with the sulfates and it becomes calcium sulfoaluminate. So a lot of chemical changes takes place, causing unusual expansions, and finally disintegration of the mortar and the brick take place. And also, if you are trying to paint on the brick masonry, which is already affected by efflorescence, the paint may fail to stick on to the brick. Okay, so that's the reason one has to be careful with this efflorescence. So how to perform the efflorescence test? Take a brick specimen in a glass dish or in a tray, and place the brick into it. So see this diagram. So I have a glass tray and I've placed brick into it, and now pour water into the tray such that the depth, how much depth the brick will immerse in the water is just 25 mm. Means from the base to the I mean, the water level from the base to the brick should be only around 25 mm, means around 2.5 centimeters. So pour water level only up to 2.5 centimeters depth. Okay, and do it in a ventilated room and leave it like that. So see that the wait until the water gets evaporated. So once the first evaporation is completed, again pour water into a dish, and after the second evaporation takes place, you have to start taking care of the patches or the efflorescence that took place on the brick. I already told you efflorescence is nothing but the formation of white patches on the surface of the brick, which is generally carried by the salts onto the surface. So if there are really salts, then obviously they will be carried onto the surface, and hence you can see the patch formation, right? So after second evaporation, check the or observe the patches on the faces of the brick. So this efflorescence can be reported in many ways, like nil to very serious. So if there are no patches observed after two evaporations, it means that absolutely there is no presence of salts inside the brick or in the water, especially in the brick actually. If it is around 10% of the area is covered with that white patches or white deposit, we call it a slight efflorescence. If around 50% of the surface of the brick is covered with white patches, then we call moderate efflorescence. If more than half area, 50% of the area, more than 50% of the area of the brick is covered with white patches, we call heavy efflorescence. And the last is serious efflorescence, which is having a very heavy deposit of gray or white patches on the brick, and it is accompanied by flaking of the surface, means the surface will start breaking down like flakes. So you can see in this diagram, you see very heavy deposit of salts on the surface. This is called efflorescence, and this test is efflorescence test. Let's go for the next one, which is warpage test. So what is this warpage test? So generally, warpage test is performed according to IS code 3495 part 4 as mentioned earlier. So bricks with parallel and plane surfaces are generally required. Why? Because the mortar consumption will be minimum when placed in masonry. If bricks are having curved surfaces, they will consume more mortar and hence it is difficult to work with them, and also it will involve more labor cost. Hence, exposed brickwork will always present an unattractive appearance due to this curved surfaced bricks. Hence, one has to check for the warpage. So, warpage of the brick is generally measured with the help of a steel wedge. What you can see in the diagrams. Okay, you have a wedge shape made up of steel whose dimensions are around uh, 60 mm into 15 mm into 15 mm. Okay, and for warpage test, you can take out 10 sample bricks from a complete lot or from the complete stock of bricks available. Just take out any 10 bricks in random. So what we do is, those 10 bricks one by one will be placed on the wedge. So you can see here where my pointer is there. Here we try to place the, just a second, so I'll take a red pointer. So we try to place the brick like this on the steel wedge. Okay, we have a possibility of two types of warpages. One is concave warpage and one is convex warpage. So the flat surface of the brick will be placed along the surface of the steel wedge like this as shown in the figure, and we will try to check the deviation. Means, for example, if you are placing the brick here like this, if you're trying to place the brick, if the side of the brick and your steel wedge are almost parallel to each other, then obviously it's a good brick. But I told we can expect two types of warpages, like we have concave and convex. So in the case of concave warpage, so when we try to place the brick, means if the brick is subjected to concave warpage, it will be like this. Means you can see there is concavity. So you can see there is a gap between the steel wedge and the brick surface. So one can, this may not be identified by your naked eye, but you can test it here. So this is concave warpage. Similarly, we have convex warpage, means the convexity will be upward. So both type of warpages we can expect in a warpage test. So what we do is, what we do is, so we try to check the straightness of the brick along the steel wedge. Okay, and if the straightness or the deviation is more, then we call it as warpage, right? So this is all about warpage test. Next comes dimension test. Dimension test can be done in a laboratory or in a field. So you may adopt this test based on the availability and the requirement. So this dimension test is also known as tolerance test, which confines to IS 1077 code. So why one has to perform this dimension test? It's actually a very important test. So generally while preparing the estimate for a masonry etc., we consider standard size of the brick, right? And also we calculate the number of bricks. But if the dimensions of the bricks or if the sides of the bricks are having any deviations, what will happen? The estimated cost and the estimated number will go wrong. Hence, we may require more number of bricks, more number of mortar, and even sometimes there could be possibility in the change of our drawings. This may completely disturb the bond or the pattern whatever we have designed earlier. Hence, one has to take care regarding the dimensions or tolerance. So what you do is, from the complete stock of bricks or from the complete lot of bricks, just try to pick out 20 bricks in random. Okay, so observe this diagram very carefully. See the first one. 20 bricks in random and place one besides another. See that there is no gap in between any two of the bricks. Just place one brick besides the other. Okay, so generally, what is the size of the standard brick we talked? It is 19 centimeter by 9 centimeter by 9 centimeter, where 19 centimeter is the length, 9 centimeter is the height, and 9 centimeter is the width. Okay, so now what is this length which I'm trying to show you? What is this length? This is obviously 19 centimeter. Correct? When I'm talking lengthwise, this is 19 centimeter. So now I arranged 20 bricks like this. So what should be my total length? 19 into 20, 380 centimeter. So what we have to do is place 20 bricks one besides another and try to measure the distance on site. So after just placing the bricks, try to measure the distance. Actually, theoretically, our complete length should be 380 centimeters. Why? Because length of each brick is 19 centimeter and we have placed 20 bricks. So around 380 centimeters, we should get the actual length. Now check if you got the length less or more. Right? Similarly, do the same thing for width also. So now, one thing you people has to remember. You may think, how are we measuring according to length or width or depth? Try to check the position of the frog. See here in the first diagram, the frog is facing upwards, means we are going along the length criteria. See the second diagram, see the position of the brick. So this is the width criteria. And see the third set, see the position of the brick and the frog. This is the height criteria. So now check the width. What is the width of this brick? Standard size width of the brick is 9 centimeter. So again you are arranging the 20 bricks in terms of width. So this is 9 centimeters. So around 20 bricks. So 180 centimeters should be the total width. Check what is the actual width you are getting. So check for the deviation, means how much there is a deviation. Is it more or less? Similarly, do for height also. So the tolerance or the I mean, why it is so called tolerance test means up to how much deviation we can allow. So how much deviation we can tolerate. That's why it is so called tolerance test. And the tolerance on the sizes of the brick is fixed by giving maximum and minimum dimensions, but not on individual bricks, but on batch of 20 bricks chosen. So whatever we are giving the limits of tolerance, means this is acceptable, this deviation is not acceptable. Whatever we are trying to set up the limit is for the complete batch, the 20 members, not single. So one has to be good enough at performing this test. And also from this method of measurement, that batches which are likely to contain bricks outside the prescribed limit of tolerance may be completely rejected. So what is the limit of tolerance and what should be the deviation, etc., I'll be explaining you in the coming videos. Next, here ends our all laboratory testing. Next is our field testing. So field testing, as told earlier, one can do it on the site just with the experience and skill in the working, you can decide whether the brick is good or not. We have the following field test: uniformity in size, uniformity in color, structure, hardness test, and sound test. First one, uniformity in size. So a good brick should have a uniform color as talked in characteristics of a good brick also. So right from the beginning to ending of the brick, the same color, the red color or the copper color should be uniform. Means when you're watching with your eyes, the same color you must have the observation. Sorry, this is I was talking about uniformity in color. Uniformity in size, the first one. Uniformity in size means it should have an exact rectangular shape, means the opposite sides must be parallel to each other. They should not be inclined like a parallelogram. They must look like a rectangle. And the corners should be very sharp. They should not be smooth corners or filleted corners. Okay, they should be very sharp like a square. And next, coming to structure, you should observe the structure of the bricks. Like if you try to break the brick into two pieces and observe the cross section. So once you break the brick inside, you shouldn't see any holes or any fissures or any cracks. So you can see the first diagram which all talks about uniformity in size, exact rectangular shape. Next, uniformity in color, and in next one is once you break the brick, you can see here there are small cracks inside. So from this you can observe the behavior of the brick. So as told, you should observe very sharp corners. Next, coming to hardness test. So this is already we discussed in properties or characteristics of a good brick. Once you scratch the brick surface with your nail, it should not make any impression. Then it is said to be hard. If it is making an impression, it is not hard. And soundness test, this also I explained you. When you take two bricks and strike one brick over other, it should give a clear ringing sound or a metallic sound. The sound should not be dull. If the sound is dull, it means that the bricks are not burnt properly. Okay, you can see in the second diagram, the person is striking one brick over the other. You should get a clear ringing sound or a metallic sound. So that's all about testing of bricks. So hope you understood the video. Thank you so much for watching.